Hello ladies and gentlemen. Today I wanted to talk about one simple thing, and that would be your CMS or countermeasure system. Now, as far as the CMS goes, I'm not going to explain it. This isn't a tutorial on how to use it. Instead, I wanted to focus on one little thing that a lot of people are doing, yet I wanted to bring to attention something that, well, some of you are not aware of. So, when we first started playing DCS, I believe most of us went into this setting for auto. This is the noob setting, the I don't know what the hell I'm doing setting. Let the A-10 decide to do everything for me. In the auto mode, the CMS will determine what to do and how to do it. As you can tell, currently we're set to auto and we are not hard locked by anything or spiked. We've got some nails of an SA-10 system somewhere way out there. Now, I've set up a little sample SA-13, which is an infrared SAM at waypoint 1. So I'm going to head over there now. Now, you have to realize that your A-10 has two systems on there. One that works the radar warning receiver, so whatever radar is hitting your aircraft will be detected, showing up over here, and should it fire, then it will tell you that there is a missile inbound. Now, infrared, on the other hand, emits no radar, so there is no way for the radar warning receiver to really know that the missile is coming. There is, however, that is your missile warning system. And the countermeasure was released even on the auto noob mode, which is something that I'm not sure if was there before or not. That second missile still going and eating up all the flares. That's really cool. The problem is when you're in auto mode, you can't stop it. So here, we're not... Oh, there it is. A little bit delayed. A little maneuver there. There's a second one. Let's hope that eats the flares. And yep, it did. Amazing. Okay. I'm going to stop before I completely run out of flares here. There we go. So, okay. Nope, she's still going. Okay. We're done? We're done. Now, as you all know, the auto mode sucks, and it's terrible. It just eats your chaff and flare alive. Now, as I reach waypoint 2 over here, I'm going to be in range to be locked up by this BB, which is part of an SA-10 SAM unit. As soon as that happens, the CMS will choose that to be its priority threat, as it already is. It's the only threat it has on there. And it will change its jammer, and it will turn it to a chaff-only section, as flares do absolutely nothing against the SAM site. So, obviously I'm still in auto here, and I don't need to do anything, because everything is being done automatically for me. So as soon as this happens, there it goes. It changed to a Bravo program, and is now just dumping an insane amount of chaff. Now I switched it to semi, and stopped it so I can have a couple of chaff left. My aircraft is set to invulnerable right now, so I'm really not worried about those missiles inbound. On waypoint 3, however, I've set up another SA-13 SAM site. So, if I slave my targeting pod over there, zoom in here, you'll see that there she is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze my way so that the SA-13 is going to fire me from my left while still being simultaneously fired upon and locked by the guys on the right. Okay, the SA-13 is waking up now. Very unhappy about my presence. Switching it to auto now. I'm going to run out of chaff, but that's okay. And he's going to fire at me. There he goes. But unfortunately, there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do in order to defeat this missile. There's the missile. Got a missile launch warning, but no flares are being dispensed. All because I'm still being locked up by the SA-10 site to my right. Okay, now that the SAM site has stopped blocking me, now the radar warning receiver reacts to the missile threat from our left. So you can see how this can screw you over. So there's another missile launch. And bada bing bada boom. So how am I picking up these missile launches if there is no radar on these SA-13 missiles? Well, that's because in conjunction with the radar warning receiver sensors, we also have an MWS, or missile warning system. Although this is incorrect, the easiest way to really think about this is you've got a bunch of thermal cameras stuck to the side, front, and rear of your aircraft, and whenever it sees a missile launch, it will warn you of it. It's got nothing to do with radar whatsoever. As soon as it sees the missile launch, it will give you the missile launch warning, and then you can react to it. So this auto mode right now is unfavorable, and obviously not a lot of you use it. So let's reset. Alright, so now I'm gonna stay in the semi-automatic mode, which is the mode that you guys mostly use. Up ahead I still have the SA-13 sight, which is gonna target me any second now. Now the only difference between this and the automatic mode is that in semi-automatic, you are the one who needs to press CMS up in order to start the sequence and CMS down to stop it. Now I could rotate the CMS left and right, but as soon as a radar contact spikes you on a radar warning receiver, the CMS will actually override whatever options you want to put on there and instead change to what it thinks is the best idea. In this instance, however, since we're not getting locked out by the SA-10 yet, the MWS system will pick up the missile launch here in just a second, and it will change to a mic program to give you some flares. It's obviously still up to you in order to use CMS up to deploy the flares. There's a missile launch, there's a missile launch warning, chop the throttle, CMS up to pop the flares. Okay. Now as you can see, the sequence is still going, the flares are being dispensed, so I'm going to press CMS down to stop, throttle back up. Now that I see where the missile launch is, I see that, pop it. So chop the throttle, pop some flares, stop the sequence. And should have one more missile, there it is. Chop the throttle, pop the flares, pop them again, there we go. And here we go. So, you know, that's great and dandy, and I'm sure a lot of you already know this. This is not very big news. However, what's going to happen in front of us in just a second is, so once we reach waypoint 2 here, the SA-10 side is going to lock us up. That is going to force the CMS panel here to change to a Bravo program. So let me just stay on mics so you see this. And then we're going to fly over to waypoint 3 where there's another SA-13 site. So what happens if I'm getting actively locked by a radar SAM site and have SAM launches while simultaneously being fired upon by an SA-13 site down here? Well, the answer is pretty obvious. It is not going to change the countermeasure system for you for a flare program. Right now it changed it to a Bravo program. I can try switching to Charlie, but as you can see, it's gonna keep popping back to Bravo. So this isn't gonna work. And now the SA-13 is about to shoot. They're just fired, but there's nothing I can do. I'm popping chaff right now. I can't switch to a mic program, except until after the SA-10 site stops locking you for a second. But it went straight back to the Bravo program. So there's the missile launch again, but there's nothing I can do. I can't even try and pop flares.
Pull up, pull up.
There I managed to quickly squeeze into a Charlie program and then like this and launch some flares. But otherwise, you're stuck in this Bravo program. So this is also very unfavorable to me, and it is not something that I like to do. Okay, so if the automatic mode and the semi-automatic mode are both gonna get you killed in that 1 out of 10 times that something like the previous clip might happen to you, what's the best thing to do? Well, that's when I started to use the manual mode. Now, manual mode does require more work. So in this instance, I'm going to be flying on the Charlie program instead of Mike. The Charlie program gives you only flares and lots of them. So here's the missile launch. There's the missile launch warning. Chop the throttle, pop some flares. That's a lot of them. Look at that. It's very short, a lot of it, and it dumps it in a nice concentrated area. So let's see that again. There's missile launch, chop the throttle, pop some flares. Look at that. And that is a large concentration for the heat-seeking missiles to go to. You can defeat these missiles easily like this. Same thing on the F-15, the SU-27, you just chop the throttle, you dump a lot of flares, and it's pretty much the same thing as me popping these flares with Charlie program. So as I'm flying along, humpity-dumpity, I'm always going to be in this Charlie program, always. The only times I'm going to switch to a, let's say, a Bravo program that dumps only chaff, for example, is if I'm up against an F-15 and I want to use the chaff against the AIM-120, which has a very small chance of actually getting the missile to miss and eat the chaff instead. Against SA-10 sites, if I was attacking that, I would not even bother switching to a Bravo program. I'd stay in my Charlie. Because chaff does nothing to that SA-10 site. It really doesn't. So knowing that, as I'm flying along and I get engaged by this SA-10 site, I will actually go down on the floor and start using the terrain masking. Or I would start doing one of these where I roll the aircraft upside down and I pull and I put the missile into the ground. So as I'm flying along, I'm not aware of that. There goes another SA-13.
Pull up, pull up.
I went for the flares. And bada bing, bada boom. So it's really that easy to just be able to sit here and not have to worry about infrared missile launches.
Pull up, pull up.
Because those can be quite aggravating, as long as obviously your missile warning system sees them.
Altitude.
If it doesn't, then, well, I hope you get your eyes outside the cockpit, right? But if, let's say, I'm in the Charlie program and I want to have a mix of both, let's say I want chaff and flare because, I don't know, I like that sort of thing, I will just move it once to the right for the Delta program, and now when I pop, I have both chaff and flares being dispensed at the same time. I can press CMS down to stop it. If I just want chaff against an AIM-120 missile, for example, and I'm sitting on the Charlie program, I just flip once to the left. That's it. So sitting on the Charlie program, all I have to do is sit my little thumb and press left and right in order to switch between the Bravo and the Delta, and then up and down to start and stop, and of course down to start the jammer. Obviously, if you do not have a HOTAS that has enough buttons to be capable of having all of these CMS functions on you, completely understand if you leave yours on semi. Semi will save you 9 out of 10 times. The only time it will not save you from an infrared missile launch is when you're being actively engaged by a radar-guided missile or SAM site, and at the same time you get jumped by an infrared missile. You will die to that SA-13 or an R-73, whatever infrared missile is coming after you. So I just wanted you guys to be aware of this little, well, it's not a problem, it's just how it functions, and perhaps try and get used to using the manual mode. The only other difficulty using the manual mode is the jammer. You are going to need to know what kind of jammer to use against these targets. If you Google air defenses for DCS A-10C Warthog, you are going to have a little manual you can print out where you can study and see what kind of jammer you can use. So for an SA-10 site, you would need to manually change it to a jammer 2 type. And then once you're actually getting locked up, you would engage the jammer. So obviously this is not a how to use a CMS panel sort of tutorial thing. This is more of just a FYI. I see a lot of people dying to this stupidity, so hopefully this shed a little bit more light on what's happening and how you can basically survive the battlefield a little bit better. So good luck and stay safe out there, guys.